This could be our dream home.
Or your biggest mistake in Thailand.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about renting or buying a property here in Thailand. It may be a condominium and it may be a house. Much more based on the house aspect than the condominium, but both are very applicable to a lot of the things I'm going to talk about in this video. Every year, thousands of foreigners come here looking for a better life. Why? First, the temperate climate. Fantastic. And we've also got comparatively lower living costs. You can get a beautiful house or a condo, often with a swimming pool, all leading to a retirement in paradise. But behind all those beautiful real estate photographs, there's another side to the story. And it's a side that many people only find out about after they've signed those contracts committing themselves to renting or buying whatever they want. And at that time, they've probably already transferred deposits or invested their life savings. Because buying or renting property here in Thailand is far different to what most foreigners would expect. And some of the biggest risks people face are kept quiet, are rarely discussed. From fake rental listings to those deposits that people are required to pay that just seem to disappear into nowhere. The hidden maintenance costs that may be required. And to one shocking fact that most foreigners are unaware of. They don't understand that they cannot own land in their names here in Thailand. Yes, in condominiums, you can get a freehold condominium, but there's nothing like that for houses. So before you rent, before you buy, and before you commit your money and your future to a property here is what nobody's going to tell you in 2026. All that I am going to tell you in this video could be critical information if you are planning to buy or rent. So please keep watching because all this video gives you very good insights to what you should be looking for. Now I've split this video into 9 sections and each covering a different aspect that you should consider. Section 1, renting versus buying. The first big question that people face when they're looking at property here in Thailand, should I rent or should I buy? And in 2026, that question is much more pertinent than before. For many people coming to Thailand, the temptation to buy comes very quickly. You see all these beautiful villas being advertised online, and prices often seem and are in fact much cheaper than what you would see in many countries in the world. And after a few months here in paradise, it's very easy to start thinking long term. But as I've said, buying property here is not the same as buying property back home. The rules are different. The legal protections are different. And the risks can be very different too. And that's why many long-term expats here would advise you to consider renting first, just to get your feet and to get a better understanding and give yourself some time to look around for exactly what you're looking for. Renting gives you flexibility. You can easily change locations. You can test specific areas out. You can avoid long-term commitments and learn how Thailand really works before you actually commit a large sum of money to staying here. Many people fall in love with specific areas in Thailand because they come here on holiday and something attracts them to that area and they really like it, and that's where they're looking initially to settle down, only to discover that that area could have flooding problems. It may have noise problems. The traffic situation may not be so good. It might be too isolated. There may be construction going on nearby that's going to change the whole outlook of the place. Indeed, it may have expensive maintenance costs. It even comes down, that some people actually discover after living here in Thailand for a couple of years, this was not really the country that they thought it was, and they want to change countries.
I gotta move on. This was not the place for me.
And of course, that's where renting becomes the smarter option. Especially in this area in Thailand, selling property might not be as easy as you may consider. And in the case of condominiums, etc., it could be very, very difficult. That being said, renting has risks too. Some renters in Thailand find out these risks the hard way. So let's move on to section 2 of this video. And in this section, we are going to be discussing the rental scams that can catch you and also the disappearing deposits that we talk about.
Can I have my deposit back, please?
No deposit back.
One of the biggest complaints I hear about with regards to renting property is these deposits that are required at the beginning of the rental period. In most cases, it's a month's deposit, but I have heard of 2 or even 3 months deposit being required. Now, the problem is trying to get these deposits back at the end of the rental.
Here is your deposit back. Thank you, Sikringas Biniman.
Thank you so much.
And that happens quite a lot. So what actually happens is, as I say, they require a deposit at the beginning of the rental. Now, in a lot of countries, including the UK, I believe, the deposits are meant to be held by an independent authority that can liaise between the parties if there is a dispute at the end of the lease. Unfortunately, here in Thailand, that is not the case. The deposit is meant to cover general wear and any damages that happened during the rental period. So it can cover the repairs or the replacements at the end of the lease. Once any damages or repairs are done, then the balance of the deposit is returned to the ex-renter. But as I've said, in many cases we hear that the deposits have just disappeared and there's nothing to be given back to the renter as they go.
Can I have my deposit back, please?
No deposit back.
Now, sometimes it is genuine that the deposit has been utilized to repair or to replace equipment that's been damaged. But of course, at other times, the renter that's moving out is just given some vague excuses or reasons why their deposit will not be returned. And because many renters, of course, are foreigners that do not understand the language in full, legal barriers and legal confusion make getting the money returned very, very difficult, especially when the contracts are unclear and written in Thai, so the foreigner had no idea what they were agreeing to when they signed the lease. Another big growing problem in 2026 is when people are inquiring from other countries about specific properties that are being advertised on the internet, etc. And they look very attractive, and of course people that are going to be coming to Thailand try to get one step ahead and get the property that they really want for when they get there. Many, many fake advertisements are put up on the internet using false photographs, using regards property that may not even exist. And of course, if you're inquiring from somewhere abroad overseas, then it's very difficult to actually check what is kosher or not. And then the scammers, they start pressurizing you from your inquiry, saying, look, this property is very popular, and if you want me to hold it for you, I will, but you need to send me a deposit, and I need that quickly because there's a lot of people looking at that property now. And a lot of people fall into this, more and more all the time. It's unbelievable. So the safest advice I can give you is never rush. Take your time. If you're going to lose it because they want a deposit and you're not prepared, you lose it. There's plenty more property. There's plenty of property to go around. So don't worry about it. Take your time. Stay safe. Understand what you're doing. Never ever transfer monies to people you don't know and you can't verify. It's stating the obvious, I think. And another thing I wouldn't do, I wouldn't ask someone else that's in the country to go and look at it for you, because they might be genuine, the people you're asking, but they can get hoodwinked as well. And the safest way is to wait till you're in Thailand and go and look at the property yourself. By all means, make arrangements for the viewing when you arrive and be safe. I can confirm that here in Pattaya, There are many well-established realty offices that have plenty of property, and you can trust them because they've been here a long, long time. And that's a valuable recommendation. You know, once money goes amiss in Thailand, once it disappears, it can be very, very difficult to trace it. So now we're going on to section 3. This is the land ownership section. This is an issue which catches a lot of foreigners out, and they find it very hard to believe. Foreigners cannot own land in Thailand. Despite years of rumors, misunderstandings, and online confusion, that basic reality, foreigners not being able to own land in Thailand, is still the case. Of course, like anything, there's certain ways around this, and there is various ways that foreigners go about it, and I'll just go through these briefly now. Leasehold agreements, usufruct arrangement, Thai spouse ownership, and company structures. These can all be utilized in various ways to get the land within your control. But direct freehold land ownership for ordinary foreigners just does not exist. Now, I heard some developers talking about the 30 plus 30 plus 30 years leases. But legally, the only guaranteed lease period is 30 years. They may promise you they will do it again after 30 years, and maybe again after 30 years. But there's nothing in law that can hold them to that. Only the first 30 years lease is legal. That is a distinction that many people wanting to enter these leases just do not understand. Now, another one I've seen is where the Thai spouses of guys may own the land, but the houses that they build on the land belong to their partners. That is something that does happen. But of course, relationships can change. If it does change, and your ex-partner says, okay, I'm taking my land back, take your house away. Is that possible? Is it practical? No. It's a problem. Divorces happen, disputes happen, and laws can change. And what seems a very simple arrangement at the beginning can become a very complicated arrangement in due course. But let me say, including myself, this doesn't mean foreigners can't buy property in Thailand. Indeed, I have. But it does mean that if you're purchasing property, you've actually got to know the ins and outs of how you're doing it. So people, we're moving on to section 4 now. And that's about the actual true costs of owning a house in Thailand. It's like anywhere in the world. Buying a house and maintaining it isn't just a one-time cost, obviously. And a lot of buyers here in Thailand that buy houses, they totally underestimate the costs that may be associated with running their beautiful pool villa, etc.
Welcome. These are the keys to your beautiful new home in Thailand.
Fantastic. Thank you.
When you purchase a house, of course, it's only the beginning. A pool villa looks absolutely fantastic, nice and clean, well presented. It tempts you into buying it. However, let's think about that. If you've got a nice swimming pool, it requires a lot of maintenance, you know, it requires cleaning. And that's probably once or twice a week. Some people do it every day. It requires chemicals, chlorine for example, just to keep the water nice and clean and fresh. And then of course you've got the maintenance, the pump maintenance. All this equipment is in use every day. So it does take a bit of maintenance. And like my neighbor here, he's got quite a nice pool. And I see him having many breakdowns and having to replace things. And it can be quite costly because you're buying luxury parts for a luxury facility and they're not cheap. And then of course, electricity. The pumps are coming on a couple of times a day, running, cleaning the water, skimming it all, etc. So there's the electricity aspects to consider as well for that nice swimming pool. Now you might have a nice big manicured garden around your pool or around the villa. But here in Thailand, you know, things grow very, very fast. And they need a lot of maintenance just to keep it all looking clean and tidy. And of course, we do have our hot seasons here in Thailand as well, and that's when air conditioning is in a big demand, more electricity. Now it's interesting I'm making this video at this particular time because we've got all the worldwide problems going on with Iran and the fuel, etc., and the cost of electricity, and indeed all utilities. The government have just announced here that from the 1st of June next month, electricity bills for this type of property are going to go up by 25%. Now that's a big step, you know, just those who want an idea. You know, normally we used to be able to run around 3,500 baht per month for our electricity here. Recently, because the schools have been down and schools have been closed for holidays, my daughter's been home. She's been using her bedroom a lot and having the air conditioning on. And the bill went up from 3.5 up to about 5.5, another 2,000 because of the long school holiday, etc. And we were spending a lot of time at home here, and we've got various rooms with air conditioning on. From next month, we're going to be looking at around 7,000 baht for our electricity, and that's a big whack out of our monthly budget. Now then, another thing I should mention, and they try to avoid this, you know, I think there's certain regulations against it, but it still happens, and that happens where there's maybe you buy a house in a village and they pay for the electricity and they then send it out to you, meter it out to you, and they will uprate the cost from the standard utility prices up a little bit to make a profit on what they're charging you. This happens in private developments in a lot of places actually, and it used to happen quite a lot in condominiums as well. I think they tried to cut it back, but I believe it still happens in some condominiums. I see comments about it, that they're upping the utility charges for their clients. And of course then we come on to the basic maintenance charges of property here in Thailand. One that I really hear a lot about in specific areas is termites. These are terrible little creatures, minuscule creatures that come from underground, and they can eat their way up through a piece of wood and leave the outside intact, and you don't see them, but they're eating all the way up, and when you go to touch the wood, it just crumbles away. There's nothing inside but sawdust, where these termites have destroyed it. And it happens to a lot of properties that haven't been constructed with termite prevention in mind. Nasty little things. Leaking roofs is another one. You know, when we get these tropical downstorms, they are horrendous. They're really 1 or 2 hours, they can absolutely come down like a torrent. And any leaks, they will find them and they will pour water in. So that's another constant problem. Then we come to mold, of course. Humidity causes the mold. And this is the smell I was talking about before that you can smell in some condominiums, etc., where the humidity takes over and there's not enough ventilation to keep it all clear. And it produces a kind of musty smell as well. It's not a very pleasant smell. So keeping on top of that with dehumidifiers, etc., sometimes it's got to be done. Drainage problems, another big problem, drainage problem, getting that water away as quickly as possible. Many towns, including Pattaya here, struggle with drainage, and they've fought with it for years, because when these torrents of water come on, they just swamp the place. Nothing can drain it away quickly enough. And this is one of the aspects as well when you're looking at houses. Check the drainage. A small instance, before we bought this house, I was looking at another house in Pattaya, and fortunately I had my wife with me, and we went looking at this house, and it looked beautiful. It looked perfect for what I wanted. And I was talking to the owner about purchasing it, etc., and my wife was just outside browsing around. And when I came out to say to her, I'm thinking of buying this, she said, come and look at this. And then we walked around, and although it all being freshly painted, the walls and everything outside, she said, look. And when I looked there, about a meter up, there was a damp water line. It was susceptible to flooding. And when I asked the owner about it, he said, yes. He says, it does flood occasionally. And end of story on that particular purchase. And if you want to keep your house looking smart, it takes a lot of constant updating, painting, etc., and cleaning, and all the things to keep it looking tip-top condition. Now, we have a lot of gated communities in Thailand, villages, etc., and these have particular costs as well. You've got maintenance fees for the village. They normally have a community centre, they may have a community swimming pool, etc., and all that takes money to keep them maintained, and that's normally distributed amongst the houses within the gated community. Security fees. Yep, a lot of places put security on. Very essential service, actually, when you live here, I believe. I like to live in communities where they've got security, but it's got to be paid for. And that's one of the things we do. And then those communities that have got the nice green areas, the parks and the gardens, etc., they all take maintenance, and that's another charge, of course, keeping them trimmed up. And then general repairs within your community, shared costs, but adding to your bill. So all of a sudden, that lovely house you bought and you thought you've got a good buy, etc., you've got to consider it's not quite as straightforward as you thought, and there is a lot of associated costs. So it's not a cheap bargain, especially for retirees like myself on a fixed income. So I'll just move on to section 5 now. Build quality, and once again I'll talk about flooding. When we come to quality of construction, now there's a whole many levels of quality in construction here. We get areas that have been managed by, the construction's been managed by foreigners, Germans, UK, etc., where they try to maintain certain levels of quality. And then we get a lot of areas that are kind of thrown up as cheaply as possible and then made to look good. They put the lipstick on the pig, built quickly and cheaply. And that new house maybe look perfect, but how long is it going to be before you start seeing the problems and the poor quality materials that were used in the construction before you realize it might not have been a good buy? A dry, beautiful, sunny day in March looks totally different than that of the same street in the monsoon season in the rain. And that's when I also say, you know, many developments I've seen have big qualities in the monsoon seasons and the rain, and they get flooded out very, very badly. Not only the buildings, but the roads and the approach roads, etc., you can struggle to get around them. Then we come down to things like insulation problems. You want to keep the heat out and keep the cool in. I see here many walls are very, very thin and sound travels through them, no problem at all. Poor waterproofing around the exterior of the property, and something that we've previously mentioned, the build-up of mold. In the luxury developments, both in houses and in condominiums, a lot of things are hidden away from sight. Appearances hide deeper issues. A fresh coat of paint, some quality furniture, some nice fittings and fixtures makes a place look great. It might not be that good. Quality cannot be seen. It's impressive at viewings, but long-time durability is another matter. The sort of things I would recommend. View the property in the rainy season. Don't go on the beautiful days. Go and have a look at it when the weather's not so good and when we're in the rainy seasons. Speak to the neighbours, the people that live round about. Ask them what problems they really they identify. And if you're talking about a development that's been there for a long time, research the history. So in that section, there's quite a lot to consider, and consider carefully. So let's move on to number 6, off-plan developments. I have some very strong views about this now. And I know a lot of people that have had their fingers burnt in off-plan developments. I mean, where a project is just kicking off, and they start advertising the sale of the units, whether it be houses or condos, doesn't matter, the same idea. The builders and the developers, they want to get as many of them sold as soon as possible because it gives them the money to carry on the construction. And it gives you an excellent opportunity to start buying units at a price that's very, very attractive and affordable. But believe me, it also carries severe risks. Here in Patti, you know, we've got several developments, condominiums. I don't know of any villas, but I'm not saying there aren't any. I think there are actually, but anyway, condominiums for sure. I know of at least 3 or 4 big developments that started off and they started selling the units off plan, etc., and they were popular, and a lot of people were snapping them up to try and save money on the cost of the unit. They didn't complete. They didn't raise enough money. They went broke. In most cases, they went broke and they couldn't carry on with the construction. So they were abandoned, left. And a lot of people put the money in, all gone, no money to return. There was one huge property, it's called the Waterfront actually, and that was abandoned because they started building on Crown land. And the Crown objected to the construction on their land. So they stopped the construction. Now this thing was mostly built, and a lot of people had put a lot of money into it. It's been empty for years, and now they're talking about knocking it all down and finishing it. I don't really know how many millions of dollars have been lost in that project, but it would be a lot. So buying off plan is an option. It's an option to be considered carefully. A lot of people do get good buys, and the construction is completed as promised. It's a gamble. I don't like gambling. I've also seen the case where people are successful with their buying off plan and they move in, but the construction is still happening, maybe only half constructed. So they move in and they're living amongst the construction, maybe for many, many months. The construction is going in all around them, and it's not a pleasant place to be in. The swimming pools aren't complete, all the facilities are still being installed, and you've moved in. It's time, but it's not a comfortable time. But if you are interested in buying off plan, do your research. Check who the developer is, check their other projects that they've built. How long have they been in operation? And what is their general reputation in the industry? Glossy brochures and nice show homes don't always tell what the story exactly is. Okay, people, we're getting closer to the end now. It's section 7. The reality about selling your property on here in Thailand. I know a lot of people that come here and they committed themselves to a long, hopefully, and happy retirement here in Thailand. Doing so, they've sold up everything at home, their houses, etc., their cars, all their belongings that they don't want anymore, and they come out here and they feel financially secure. They've got their pensions, they've got the money they've got from the sale of their homes and their cars, etc., and they're feeling pretty good, and they think they've got a good financial future ahead of them. So as I would say, their priority is to set up their stall for a happy future. They want to get a nice house or a nice condo. They want to have a car, maybe a motorbike. They want to get all the bits and pieces that they want to make their life here comfortable and to give them a good future retirement. But I hate to say it, sadly, it doesn't always go as planned. And that happens for a lot of people. Again, sadly. Many people buying property here assume one thing, that if all goes wrong, they can sell up, move away. But resale is not always easy, particularly outside the major tourist areas. If you build or buy a home up country somewhere or out in remote areas, then it's going to be a lot harder to sell it on, probably. Also, you might buy a new property in a particular development, but no, not all developments are the same, as we discussed previously. And some developments age very, very badly and get poor reputations. Other developments become oversupplied. And this is particularly true in places like Pattaya, where they've got huge amounts of condos and things for rent or sale, and there's not enough people interested in it. And this is another problem that can hinder the resale of your property. In slower markets, and you can take it from me, it's true, many properties can be on the market for many years, and that can cause a problem for a lot of people. And unlike the Western markets where we come from, the Europe and the UK and the USA and Australia and various other countries, the increased value of your property might not be anywhere near you see in those areas. And that's another reason why you should consider exactly how much you want to spend on a property and not overspend. Because the more expensive the property, you're reducing the amount of people that are going to be able to buy it. So think carefully before committing large amounts of money, especially your retirement savings. I would advise never to think of property here in Thailand as an investment. It has to be a lifestyle choice. None of them guarantee investment success. Section 8, who should actually buy property? But despite everything I've said here and all the warnings, a lot of people actually have wonderful lives with having bought Thai property. And for the right person, buying a property actually makes a lot of sense, especially for financially stable retirees, long-term residents, people with local support, and of course, those absolutely committed to living in Thailand long-term. If buyers understand the risks and use proper legal advice. I cannot stress that enough. If you're going to stay here long-term, try and get yourself a lawyer, solicitor that you fully trust, and run all your various aspects you need to. Run it through the same people. Then you know that they are independent and they have got your good fortune at heart. And always try and think realistically. Property ownership here can provide a fantastic lifestyle. Believe me, I have it. So, the last section, number 9, let's just summarize where we are. The quality of life here in Thailand is unsurpassed. Beautiful homes, a lovely climate, friendly communities, and a lifestyle that many will only ever dream about. But paradise also comes with some basic realities. And the more informed that you are about buying or renting, the better your chances of avoiding expensive mistakes later on in the game. So, whether or not you decide to rent or buy a condo, lease a villa, buy a villa, or decide to spend some time learning about the country more first before deciding exactly what you want to do, make your decisions slowly. Research is a key aspect. Do your research and never let your emotions make financial decisions for you. That can go dreadfully wrong. Because in Thailand, property, what you don't know can cost you a lot of money. And sometimes a lot of stress also. And we don't need stress in our retirements, do we? Thanks for watching. See you soon.